Oh, and if you happen to come across a bottle anywhere, I'm cooking.
Well, if Arthur's going to be doing some cooking, we're going to get him a little cooking area that isn't just the Big Bytes Pizza kitchen. So yeah, I went ahead and built that in our back room. That in. A little cooking space over here. So, yeah, I'll show you guys how I built this. Now, this is built with 0 platinum. Now, you might look at some of this and you might recognize some items that are like, oh, this actually costs platinum. What are you saying? I'll get into that. But let's start out with, well, where I started out, the floor. So very first thing I did for this build is I put down a base for where I wanted it, which is simply this Zariman floor pad. So just take one of those. And these cost 40k rep at Zariman, by the way. So these are one of a few items that you can actually get flush with the floors that can kind of be like replacement flooring. So ordinarily looks like this. I just shrunk it down to as small as I can get, which is actually still pretty big. And you just take this, rotate it 180. And there it is, the bottom of it, flush with the floor. And I just took this and just pushed it back into the wall as much as it would let me, which actually for this particular wall isn't very far. You actually, against this wall, you actually can't push objects into it very far, which actually affected some of the design choices that I did for this, which I will show you guys. But yeah, in addition, the little rug I picked, this is my 0 platinum option rug. There are other rugs available. I went with the Tenno Kindred rug, which is available from Barrow. Might not be available right away when you're seeing this video, but this is a 0 platinum option, albeit a bit of an expensive 0 platinum option. I can get it for him for credits and ducats. Another possible thing that you might have, which is technically 0 platinum in the right conditions, you might have gotten an Ostron rug pack as a Twitch drop at some point, which is a collection of 5 Ostron rugs. Personally, for this build, I actually prefer color-wise this Ostron Veru rug over the Tender Kindred rug. I just like the color scheme. I think the color scheme at least matches better. But if you want a totally 0 platinum option, that is available. Another 0 platinum rug, although I personally don't like the look of it here, but if you want something better than nothing thing over this floor pad, Zariman rug is a 0 platinum option. Not the best look. A little dirty, but it's something you can work with. And it does stretch almost the whole width of this kitchen space you're working with if you want to go with that, but it's an option. Just one I personally didn't go with, but you can go totally rugless if you wish. It's your design choice. Yeah, building on top of there, the next thing I chose is I wanted to get like cabinets and counters in place. So we went all Zariman items here. I was experimenting with wall cabinets, floor cabinets, lockers, and whatnot. The ones I found best are all actually cabinet items. I went with, well, first off, I wanted to get just like a floor cabinet piece done. So I experimented initially with some Zariman lockers, didn't choose any of them. I like the Zariman cabinet low long the best for this. I also tried it with the Zariman wall cabinet, which I tried for both the floor cabinet and for actual like wall cabinets. I thought the Zariman wall cabinet was a bit too tall for the wall cabinet in this space, but I did like it as a fridge instead. So you have kind of like the fridge candle right here. So I use that as my fridge. And the Zariman cabinet low long is my cooking space cabinet. For the actual wall cabinets I used, it was the Zariman wall cabinet short. So they're a nice height. They look like they're reachable. That's somebody of a human or Warframe height. Versus this one, which is a bit too much of a reach unless you had a ladder. So I went with 2 of these over the cabinet space. So this is it's not much like kitchen area storage, but design-wise, function-wise, I liked it there. So 2 of those over the cabinet. Now these are, let me go double check the price on these real quick. I don't think it was too bad. I'm going to guesstimate 10K each, but that I might be way off there. To the internets. Okay, so Zariman cabinet, low long, 10K rep. Zariman cabinet, wall cabinet short, 10K each. Zariman wall cabinet tall, aka my fridge, 10K. And this one I did, this, I'll show you quick. This particular wall cabinet, there's a little, I'll call it a dip that comes out from it. I had that at the top. So you have, that kind of gives like an ordinarily, so this is actually upside down from how you usually see it. You'll see it like in the vendor store. But I like the look that this thing gave as a fridge handle. Hence why it's technically upside down. So there's an awful lot of stuff at the Zariman vendor that costs 10K. But yeah, fridge counters. So the next option is, and this is one I've actually had some people ask about in the comments before, is getting an oven or a stove. Now this is actually the reason why this video is actually coming out a lot later than I intended, because the items that I wanted to use to build the oven stove, I didn't have enough of them to build a whole oven stove, so I had to wait for them to get back into stock, which took at least a week. But the bulk item I have for these to build the bulk of it, bulk twice, is the Solaris Supplies decoration. These come from Ticker at Fortuna. However, Ticker's, I believe that the option is Ticker's secondhand. Ticker does not always have a consistent furniture stock. It changes day by day. And it took a while for this Solaris Supplies decoration to come back. I initially had one. I used that to build the top of the oven/stove, so I can at least get started on it. But I wanted at least one more so I could use another one at the bottom to make it more of an oven look. Yeah, let me show you how I built this. This is actually using 3 of them. Let me build it over here for you guys real quick, and I can read the floor pad right now. But yeah, these just came back into stock. For me, it would have been yesterday. So I bought all of them that I could. You would spend the what are those things? You would spend debt bonds in order to purchase these. Yeah, this is what they ordinarily look like. My thought was, let's flip this upside down. Have this dark top as the stove area. Now you notice that this is not like kind of square shaped like like your normal stove might be. So I'll rephrase that. It's not square shaped like a normal 4-burner stove might be. So what I did in this case is I opted for a 2-burner stove instead. So I didn't have something that stuck out a lot from the wall. Now I'll show you how I did the burners in just a moment. We'll build the oven part first. But yeah, we're going to start out with the top one, because that's where I started. So 45-degree angle snap. Let's rotate this 180 degrees. And no matter what side you pick as your front, there's going to be something sticking out. So on this side, it is something in the lower left that's sticking out. And on this side, it's something in the lower right that's sticking out. I opted for the side that has the thing on the lower right sticking out because it was sticking out less. It was a little bit easier to hide things under that. With that. So there's our top of our stove. We duplicate this. Flip this upside down, 180 degrees. Had them roughly match up. I'm going to go and constrain movement to adjust this a little further. But yeah, I don't have this matching on the floor right now, but I'm just showing you guys a quick build. So let's back this up a little. That's close enough. Yeah, so they're roughly intersecting, just a smidgen. Main reason we're doing that is because we are trying to hide all the stuff that's in these particular boxes. You don't need to see any of that. So we'll go with that. Now you notice there's still stuff sticking out on the sides. So we got this sticky on the right side. We got this sticky on the left. And you got these kind of dark bluish turquoise-ish things sticking out, which we will be hiding in just a moment. But what I want to show you next is actually how I got what kind of looks like the oven window-esque thing. I'll first show you what I tried that didn't work. Then I'll show you what I tried that did work. My initial thought was I want something that's glass there. That did not work out. I tried first Duviri Repast Table. And this is the problem I was hitting over here. Even if I shrink this down all the way, move it down as much as I can. Oh, it works over here, kind of. Actually, no, it's still low. This is as low as it's letting me move it. I'll even place it and I'll do a constrained movement. This is not letting me place it any further. Even if I do some tricks to even if I try to do some tricks like rotating this slightly to try to get it so the rotation point goes below the floor and stuff, it would not let me place the item. I'll see if it'll let me. Actually, let me see. Let me show you guys this real quick. Grid snapping, 45 to 15. Strain movement, local. Let me see if it shows me the error message over here. I was getting an error message out of this that totally does not fit with what the actual error is. It might not actually show me the actual proper error message now. Yep. This is the problem I was hitting. I hit this a lot, this you do not have enough remaining capacity error message, while trying to place items in this area with it intersecting with either the floor or the wall. It was only letting me push things underneath or back so much, and if I tried to push it too much, it gave me this error message, which is not a fitting error. But it basically said, oh no, you can't do that. But that is the reason why I couldn't use this as a glass option. Another idea that came to mind comes from Zariman. There's this door that has some glass, hydro planter panel. You can see it's huge. Even if I scale it down, this is scaled down all the way. Still pretty huge. So unless you're gonna have a really, really, really big oven, this is not going to be an option, unfortunately. If I could make this a lot smaller, this is probably what I would have gone with. Like this, probably flipped upside down, so you have that little silver thing at the top of the oven door. But yeah, this, unfortunately, was also not an option. There might be some other glass options out there as well, but those were the two that came to mind at least. So what I did instead is I took yet another Solaris supplies decoration. No, I don't want to remove it. I want to duplicate it. And instead of rotating it at 180 degrees, we rotated at 90. And I just pushed this in and shrunk it a little. This is going to be relatively what it looks like. You notice, like, doesn't look as clean as it does over here. You're seeing the little, like, screws or nails, whatever those are, showing up. This is something you'll have to adjust this. You might have to push the top or bottom of your little stove oven thing back a bit. You might have to make this a little larger, a little smaller. Or bring it up a little, bring it down a little. But just for the sake of a simple demonstration, This is what I did to show the so-called oven door glass there. And it also hides the seam between the two of these fairly well. Now, as for on the side, though, you have that kind of indent on the side, plus you have some this dark turquoise thing standing out. I took another Solaris item, which seems to be a lot more common at Ticker. Solaris toolbox decoration. I think I shrunk this down all the way. Let's rotate it. Let's see, which way did I rotate this? Again, let's double check. Okay. Rotate it so it's on. Let me double check those on its side. Yes, on its side. And I just push this in on the side. I think the wrong side. And I use that to cover that little bit of dark turquoise thing that was sticking out. Try to line it up relatively with the top bottom of the oven. Like this, I don't have it exact here, but it's pretty close. And I just did the same thing on the other side. Hide that same little bit of geometry there. Push it in just enough to hide that bit of geometry. So we'll either push back a little, I think a little further than I have here, but yeah. These are better lined up. I'm just showing you a quick and dirty version just to give you an idea of how I built this. Now, I haven't found anything that I've been satisfied with yet to hide this other part of the geometry, this black and gold pipe that's sticking out. But if I find something that I like, I'll put it down in the comments. But yeah, that's how we did the oven part. Now the burners, unfortunately, I forgot to pick up an extra one of these, but I'll temporarily remove it from here. What I did is I took some Zariman extractor units. Let's do a straight up move. I shrunk these down as much as they would go, and I just pushed them below the surface. It will work, but they do push below the surface just fine. Right. So one here, one on this side. The only part of them I have sticking out is the actual fan part of that extractor unit. So those are acting as my burners for the stove. And I have two of them side by side. Both of those extractor units shrunk down as much as I can get them. And let me double check the price on those real quick. I'm guessing it's also 10K, but let me double check. A lot of stuff's 10K at this store. Oh, they're 5K each. But yeah, that is how I built my oven/stove. Now, the next part of it, look slightly above. I wanted to get a oven/stove vent. Now I'm going to show you what I call the free version, which I actually prefer. Then I show you some stuff I did for a paid version instead, which technically you can still get for free. What I did is I bought a Zariman bench single. Double check the price on that. I'm guessing it's also 10K. Where is it? Zariman bench single. Others larger Zariman benches. 5K each for these. So bought that. Here's the top of the bench. It's actually pushed into the wall. And I use what's going to be the part against the floor. I use that for the front of the vent. And I made this as large as I can get it. Unfortunately, it wasn't large enough to cover the whole width of the stove, but it is just not large enough to cover both burners. Now, what I wanted for the vent, the top of the vent. I wanted something that curves into the wall. I didn't want like a very large chimney, like what I did for the fireplace build I did. I wanted just like a simple vent where it's just air goes up and the vent actually goes through the wall. And the best thing I could find for something that curves simply into the wall was actually these Zariman waste extractors. I sized these to be roughly the same width as the Zariman bench. And there's our nice little curve into the wall there. So combining that, so I made these just wide enough so that they hit the bars of the Zariman bench on each side. So 2 quick, dirty, simple, 2-item vent. Now, a not so free technically option you can do with that if you wanted a wider vent. Same idea with the vent curving into the wall of the waste extractors. But there's also an item, this is technically a paid item, but you can get it for free. Zariman seating. This is ordinarily a platinum item in the store. However, every single one of you has at least one of these available for free. What you can do is go to your dormer zone, the first room in there with all the kitchen, the dining area stuff. There are a lot of freebies in that room, some of which are actually platinum items, and that includes this Zariman seating. So this seating, this is shrunk down as much as I can get. Unfortunately, it's a little, this one's actually a bit too, even though it's shrunk down as much as I can get, it's actually a bit too wide for the stove. But you can like hide it between the fridge, between the cabinets, so it doesn't show quite as much if you wish. But you'll have something that's more than wide enough for the stove with this option. Because in fact, it's even too wide. And this waste extractors thing, this is actually scaled as high as I can get it, which is, unfortunately, these waste extractors scaled as large as I can get it. Not wide enough for the Zariman seating for the vent. So this is actually among the reasons why I actually don't prefer this option. Another reason is the size of this vent versus the size of this vent. This option with the Zariman seating, even though it's wide enough to cover the whole stove, it is a really huge vent. I think it's way too large, actually. So even though this one has the downside of not being wide enough to cover the whole stove, it does seem more in line with the size of other stuff in general. So I do prefer this totally free option over the option where you technically have a platinum item in there. So that's what I went with for that. Now let's get into some details I added to this. We'll start up here. On top of the fridge, I added a bunch of Solaris food items. So food box decoration, food can decoration. Well, actually, these are Zariman food patches, so that's not Solaris. So food can decoration, food box decoration, those are available from Ticker. Again, with Ticker's furniture items, they are not always available every single day. Although I will say the Solaris food box decorations do seem to be available on most days. So I use that as just, I wanted to have stuff on top of the fridge. So we have some food stuffs on top of the fridge. And yeah, the Solaris items cost some amount of some sort of debt bonds. I don't think it's consistent day to day. Now the food pouches from Zariman, these are available every day because Zariman furnishing listing is consistent every day. These are 5K each. And you may or may not have one or more of these available in your dorm zone to swipe for free if you so choose. Now, speaking of swiping for free in the dorm zone, everything I have on top of these wall cabinets was swiped for free on top from the dorm zone. So kitchen boiler, nutrition cube warmer, nutrition cube maker, cube steamer, cube blender, cube processor. Every single one of those are available in your dorm zone for free if you don't want to buy them from the furniture vendor. Again, I just wanted to have random stuff on top of the cabinets, and that was free random stuff on top of the cabinets. Now, those usually cost around 7.5K each. So depending on how much rep you have available or rep you can get every day, that could be a day or two grinding just for those. Or you can just swipe them for free from the dorm zone if you desire. Another thing I swiped for free from the dorm zone, we start going down here. Zariman tumbler cups, these are 5k each. I'm using these to mimic salt and pepper shakers. Well, actually, just reminded, I forgot something on the stove oven. Speaking of swiping for free, Zariman salad spinner, Zariman frying pan, Zariman food tray, Zariman spoon. Again, all swiped for free from the dorm zone. When you can ordinarily buy them for maybe like the spoon's 5k, the tray, I'm going to guess 5k, salad spinner, probably 7.5k or 10k, the frying pan, 7.5k or 5k, I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head. Oh yeah, food tray, 5k. So I'm using that as kind of a utensil rest. And also swiped for free, this knife. The knife, in comparison to the spoon, is kind of big. This might actually be the smallest the knife can go. Yeah, this is actually the smallest the knife can go, so it's more of a kitchen knife than it is a dining knife. Versus the spoon, I think that the spoon might be able to get smaller. Oh, they just made it larger. Nope. Let's see. Nope, that's actually the smallest the spoon can get. But the spoon, in relation to the knife, is smaller. So we got our, knife swiped from the dorm zone as well. Kitchen knife, the spoon, both cost 5k each. Now moving over, I'll get into this fishy first in a sec. Recipe book. I'm using a Rail Agent Manifest decoration as kind of a fit-in for a recipe book. This is from Ticker. It is often but not always available. And again, costs some amount of debt bonds. I think this is one of the cheaper ones. So it's usually the lower level debt bonds, like I think Shelter's maybe one of the lower level ones. This is one of the cheaper items you can get from Ticker. I've seen some people even use these as open shelves. Like you take this, let me rotate it. I actually almost did that in this design too, but I chose not to. So quick and dirty shelf, if you want. I'm using it as a recipe book of sorts. Now for the fishy. This is a fish trophy. So you have in Cetus, Fortuna, Deimos, all your fishing open world areas. You can buy fish trophy blueprints from a vendor at each place. Each one of them, I believe, uses you need to have one of the largest version of said fish caught. Now, I tried a couple different fish here. This is the one I settled on, the Mortis lungfish. I wanted to have a fish that, one, stood out, and two, resembles something that might be an actual fish that might be within our world. And this ended up being the best of those. The first fish I went with was, let's see, find it, not the Goopla, Tarlock. This is the first fish I went with. And I had it so that the top of the fish was facing towards you. I like the style of the fish. However, back there, the color didn't stand out very well. So the contrast wasn't very good. So I opted not using this fish. But if you want to use this fish yourself, I believe this is an ocean fish. So if you go to the west coast of Plains of Eidolon, you can catch them there. The one I use, get it selected. Mortis lungfish. This is a semi-rare fish from, I believe, Plains of Eidolon ponds. Again, you need to get a large version of that. Another option I tried out, and I believe this is also an ocean fish. One of the more common ocean fish, if I remember correctly. Goopla fish. I thought one of the reasons I opted out of this one was because it's a little bit on the long side, so it was going to take up an awful lot of counter space. So this shorter, light color lungfish ended up winning out. Now, I ended up using the backboard of the trophy as a kind of cutting board for this. And as a representation of some fish already cut out, let's say maybe from this spot on the lugfish that's kind of that grayish silverish color, for example. Zariman nutrition bricks, the protein ones, which to me kind of look like pieces of tuna cut out. So I like that look as, hey, these kind of look like pieces of fish. Let's represent them as pieces of fish that were already cut out. These are very cheap, 1.5K each. So there's our fishy. Yeah, next on the not so cheap level, coming to us all the way from Cetus, spices. These I've been wanting to use these for another build I'm doing in a dojo. For cooking-esque space. So I might show that in a video at some point in the future. It's going to be a while before I finish that build. But we have here red spices, blue spices. These are hella pricey. So the red spices cost 50K Cetus rep. The blue spices cost 100K Cetus rep. So it will take you a while to get these if you just decide you want to put them in. But I like the idea of having some spices available on here, even though they are kind of big. And also, I shrunk them both down as much as I can get. So these are as small as you're going to get them. I even have them slightly embedded into the wall, particularly the red one. But the appearance on the outside, I do like how they look if you stand back from it, even though they do take up a lot of space. But yeah, that's an awful lot of Cetus rep for those, but personally I like the look of those. Now, another thing I wanted in there, but I didn't have the counter space for, was a fruit basket. This one, the Bountiful Fruit Basket, this is one I just happened to have available for my inventory that I was going to use for that dojo build, that I hadn't put this in the dojo yet. I originally had this sitting on the floor. And oh yeah, the fruit basket, I believe 50K each. There's multiple types of fruit baskets. I actually used one of these for my shower build, wide fruit basket. This is kind of doubling as a potpourri / towel basket of sorts. But yeah, I like the idea of having some fruit available there, so I put that in place. It was originally on the floor. I didn't like it on the floor, so I boosted it up a little bit by taking a tall green artesian pot, which is available from, I'll hopefully pronounce this right, Acrithis Duviri, the Duviri vendor. Let me find it. I'm pretty certain I bought a bunch of these. Or maybe I didn't. Oh, here we are. Took this. Flipped it upside down. So that only that green bottom was sticking out. And this, I'm actually amazed it let me push just below the floor so much. That took me by surprise. I wasn't, given the amount of trouble I've had pushing other things into the floor and to the wall, I was shocked that it let me do this, but it let me do this. Although part of the reason for that could be because the rotation point of this is at the bottom of the pot. So that's probably the reason why this was so friendly versus other things weren't quite so friendly. But yeah, it's another option you can do here if you want is instead of just putting a little pot here instead, maybe you can take another cabinet, low long. Like I think, let me check if there's a Zariman low short real quick, because that would probably be a good option. If you wanted to have a little cabinet space going off on the side. Let's see if there's a low short. There is. So there's a Zariman cabinet low short. I don't think I have one in my inventory, but let me double check. Yeah, I don't. But it's an option if you want a little bit of like a cabinet on the side. Maybe you can put the fruit basket on there instead. I just wanted everything against the wall. I didn't want anything sticking out much, so that's why I chose not to have a cabinet going off the side for more counter space. But it is an option if you want more counter space. Okay, next stuff. So you might have noticed, and I've already had this highlighted at times, while I have the wall on the right here and on the left here, it's its default cement color. It's green in the middle. So I use a technique similar to what we did with the floor pad down here, where I push items into the wall so that they are flush with the wall. So I took a green item, and I've seen other people color the walls and whatnot green, or even make green walls by doing this technique. I took wide green artesian pots and a ton of these. I think I have 18 of them here. Let me grab one, for example. Now, these are available from the Deviri vendor for however many of generic Deviri resources. So here's what it looks like ordinarily. I'm going to rotate it so we're pushing the bottom of the pot into the wall as much as it can go. And there's your green color on the wall. Make this larger, smaller. And it will go like, one nice thing that I like that it does when you're doing this is some of these fancy designs, like the glowing blue and the little, I'll call them Albrecht doodles. They show up on top of it, which I like. You have some of this brown stuff that's on top of the cement walls, like up at the, actually showing through as well on top of that. I like that design. I like that it does that. Now, one issue I had with these walls and putting this together, so how I built this is I started out, made this as large as I could. I had one of these, put it on the left like this, took another one of these, put it on the right, and I stacked them like that side by side up until the top. Now, it created two issues for me. One, you'll see if you zoom in here, we have this thing called Z fighting. You can see how it's kind of flickering on those. That's doing that where these two are intersecting. That's because both of those, I'll call it green polygons, green pods, whatever term you want to use for these, they're both sitting on the same level. So that the game doesn't know, hey, which one of these am I supposed to render? Am I supposed to render this one that's on the left side, or supposed to render this one that's on the right side? So what it does instead is it renders both. It kind of goes back and forth between them. That's what causes that flickering. But that's a term called Z fighting. So I wanted to reduce that as much as possible. Another issue I came across while putting these together, let's see if I can recreate it real quick here. Starting to come through. I'll put through one more and maybe that'll show it clearer. Here we are. Now this shows it a bit clearer. So on the bottom two rows of these, you notice how you have this dark green splotch where these two pots intersect. We're getting a shadowing effect from the upper rows. So the more rows you have, the more dense the shadowing effect will show as you go further down. So did not want that either. What I ended up having to do, and this didn't eliminate all the problems, but it eliminated most of it. I still have a little bit of Z fighting on this wall here. And the shadows are pretty much hidden. But I did the side-by-side left-right up until roughly halfway up. Just a little over where I have all these like cabinet and fridge and what pieces are. And I shrunk these so that one of the ways I got out the Z fighting is I shrunk these, scaled them down. I'll do the example a bit more extreme here. So that instead of overlapping, they touched instead. So there's no Z fighting between these two. And in order to cover this space, this concrete space in the middle where they meet, I took another pot, rotated it 90 degrees, and I put it over the two to hide that space where the left and the right ones meet. Now doing that, it got rid of the shadow issue I had. There's still a little bit of Z fighting, but it's not as bad. Like if I zoom in here, you got these 3 pots, all met into the wall. You can see the drawings on top of them. No Z fighting. So I did that left, right, thing in the middle until about halfway up. And then in order to get rid of the rest of the shadows, I took, instead of having left, right pots, I just had a bunch of up and down ones like this. And I just stacked them left to right. I pushed them up high enough so that any of the curves at the top of these went through the wall. I did have to do some constrained movement for these. Kind of like that. I just had a bunch of these side by side to take care of the rest of the wall. So I did have to tweak them a little bit, like move it slightly forward, slightly back to reduce the Z fighting thing. So here you can see it again. Even in the wall I have here, there's you can sometimes see it. I reduced it greatly, but occasionally it pops up again. But yeah, I have definite Z fighting here, so you might have to move objects, constrain movement, local. You might have to move things forward, back just a little bit. Like there we are, the Z fighting went away. I just moved this pod just forward a little bit. But you can build an entirely green wall with that. It does take a while. You will need a lot of these. I personally used 18 of them in order to build this wall. But if you want something that's a little less resource intensive, another option you have here, and I actually tried this initially, is back to our trusted and true Zariman wall panels. Same idea with these. Grab one, push them into the wall, or even rotate them into the wall. You might only need maybe 2, 3 of these to cover your whole wall. Actually, given that this wall is wider, you might actually need more, but make these, yeah, I'll have to make them larger. Yeah, you might only need like, I'll guesstimate you might need 3 of these. And that's a quick, simple cover your wall to give it a different texture. I'll even move this over here so I can show you what it looked like. There's a reason why I opted for the green, the complicated green over the simple wood panel. That reason being, let's see if it'll let me lower this enough. Actually, there we go, had it. Okay, that reason being, I did not like the color combination between the grayish and the silvery of the Zariman items against the warmer wood color of the Zariman wall in this case. I thought it was a little bit of a color clash. I kind of wanted to keep kind of a closer to the same cooler color scheme. So I didn't like the metallic Zariman gray look with the wood panel. Now, the Zariman like white with the wood panel looks fantastic. I just didn't like it with the gray and the silver. So I opted for another option instead. But yeah, those wood panels, another common thing that people use to decorate or build walls. Another option you have, this is going to be even more resource intensive, unfortunately, but I've seen people build walls with these. Wide white artesian pots. These are smaller than the wide green artesian pots and max size, so you're going to need a lot more of them if you want to build a wall with those. I personally didn't care for it because I thought this is showing up as more of a yellow than a white, but I thought a white I think would look pretty good right here. A white wall on this. Now, probably the option that people more often use if they want a white wall did not work for me. Going back into trying in the error we got with trying to embed things into the wall. Yeah, the error we got with trying to embed things into the wall. Let's see if it lets me show you. So this is probably the most common thing people will use if they want to create a wall that's white. The Zariman table. And yeah, this will cover a fair bit of space. But let me see if it'll let me show you why this will not work. So this is the surface we're going to want as our wall. And again, I tried the trick with like rotating this 15 degrees and trying to like do various pushes and whatnot. But the problem is the error message that we get while trying to use this. Okay, so just there. So yeah, we have this flush enough of the wall, so it's showing the designs. Now the issue comes when I hit confirm. Again, you do not have enough capacity to place this decoration. So opted out of doing the white walls because of that issue. This again probably comes from where the rotational point is. It's at the bottom of this table. If you really wanted to try rotating it so that you're using the bottom instead of the top, this could work. Let's see if this works. I didn't actually try it here. Yeah, so this works. So if you wanted to try, so this, I think I actually have it in large as I can get. But if you wanted to try something with this instead, it's probably not going to involve the 18 like wide green pots that I have. But if you want like a grayish white wall instead, and it's roughly the same color as the gray for the Zariman items, it's an option. But yeah, one I didn't go with. So if you want to use these Zariman tables to color your wall, you're going to have to use the bottom of the table and not the usual top that people use. Okay, a couple of things. I wanted a little bit of ambient plant life for this scene. So totally optional. Took a couple of pots from Duvieri. There's 3 different planters you can get. One has red flowers, one has blue flowers, one has yellow flowers. I grabbed a red one, which is the Histic planter, and a blue one, which is the Espal planter. Just put one on each steel beam next to there, just a little plant ambience. And something I may or may not take out is just something I've been messing with lately. Zariman green plants, I kind of embedded them into the plants just to get a little more greenery coming out from these. Totally optional. I got another project I'm working on that's going to involve using a lot of those, so I've been playing around with them a lot lately. But yeah, a couple other things we'll go through. So since we have a fridge, what if you wanted to put stuff on the fridge? So a few options, all freebies. We'll start out with, if you've done I believe it is the Glass Gambit quest, you get these Niwa drawings. So if you want to have like children's art on the fridge, this is a great option. These are shrunk down as much as they can get, so it's still a little bit on the big side. So you can stick a couple of these on if you want like kids art representation, gold star, etc., that you want to put on your fridge. And I believe everybody, if you finish the quest, can have like 5 of these. These are a couple of mine. Another option that's also, these are 1 credit, I believe, in the market. These are kind of like a 1999 themed option. This is the 1999 comic book cover display. This is also shrunk as much as I can get it. 1 credit each. So I think I bought like 1,000 of them just for laughs. But if you wanted some more 1999 themed art to go in your fridge, you can put on that in there. If you want something that's not going to stick out as brightly, Prex cards are a great option. They're a bit more matte. Let me move this out of the way. So they don't stand out as bright on the fridge. So you got little fridge art here. Now, if you wanted magnets, fridge magnet representation, one thing I found that works really well is the token ornaments from Grandmother and Deimos. Take them, shrink them down as much as you can. They make for pretty decent fridge magnets. So here's just a few of mine. Still a little on the large side, but there aren't many items that shrink down small enough to represent a good fridge magnet. Like I even tried it with a Zariman frying pan. Actually, it doesn't work too bad. Another thing I tried it with, and these are good small ones, some of the Zariman nutrition cubes. Those shrink down pretty well. You do need to get it kind of embedded into the fridge. Potential fridge magnet representation of those. And he had multiple color options, so I got a vitamin one and a fiber one. Actually, that reminds me of another detail I added here. One thing I forgot to mention in the frying pan here, Zariman nutrition cubes. I had to add the carbohydrate one because I absolutely needed to have a representation of Arthur's square spaghetti. I was going to have only the square spaghetti in the pan, but I decided I wanted a little bit more color, so I added some fat that could represent the gelatin he used, let's say, and some vitamins, because, well, vitamins. We got a nice little color blend there of all those. But yeah, adding the square spaghetti I thought was very important for Arthur's cooking. But yeah, another fridge, going back to the fridge magnets, another potential option that you can shrink down fairly small. These are from Quill Onco and Cetus. Glowing sentient core decoration. This shrinks pretty low. Let me check the price on these. This is worth 50k rep. It is very pricey, particularly for like getting stuff from Quills, but it is another potential fridge magnet option if you so desire to have fridge magnets on your fridge. And actually, I like the way this random placement looks. I think I'm actually going to leave it like that. But yeah, finally, one other thing I added, which you may or may not see, and ideally I did actually want you to see, was in some other builds I've done, I've added ambient lighting. I'll just do a quick explanation on this. So I have some what I'll call point lights hidden within objects to create light space in this build. So might notice a little bit of light flickering, particularly below the cabinets, below this vent. What I did for that, I will actually just show you how I built it versus taking one out. I've done this in other builds as well. I did this for my fireplace build, which I have a video for. I did this for my shower build, which I have a build for. Now, technically, this is a platinum item I'm going to be using for this. It is the Warframe Articula. However, I usually feel okay with showing these because I have seen this as Twitch drops often enough that I'm saying that it is possible to get these for free. May not be available immediately, but they pop up usually as weekend drops from Twitch drops often enough that I'll usually include these as a possibility for a no platinum build. So what I did is, now you pick a layout for these. I got my Necros here. I usually give it a pose that's kind of small, so pose 3 is my favorite. Now for the actual light emitting part, you pick one of 2 ephemeras that you're going to put in your loadout. Let me show you those options real quick. So this one I put in my Necros because I don't use Necros all too often. 2, for some reason, I never actually fed my Necro. I think I somehow got 2 different base Necroses. I know I fed one for my Hellmouth, and for some reason I have a second base Necros from somewhere. Not sure where that came from. But yeah, the light emitting is going to come from ephemeras. There's 2 of them as of now that emit light. One of them is the Asperus Apex ephemera. This came from the clan Operation Belly the Beast event that was in June 2024. If you don't have it now, it might be available from another clan operation event or some other event in the future. But this gives off what I'll call just straight emitted light of some color, whatever your energy color is. Other one that's just going to be more readily available and always available, just a little RNG, is the Vengeful Flame ephemera. This one comes from Kuva Liches. It's one of the possible ephemeras that you can get via RNG from a Kuva Lich. If you have a Kuva Lich that has a heat-based progenitor, there is, I believe, a 20% chance for this to appear on the Lich. Now, this one has more of a flame flicker effect lighting, so it's great if you want to do something that represents more of a flame type thing, like flame in an oven maybe, or like a brick oven maybe, or what I did, I used it for a fireplace. But for the build, that we're doing over here. I used that first one, the Apex one, which is on my necros over here. It's a little hard to see that it's emitting light. Oh, I picked mods instead of decorate. I do that a lot. Hold on. Okay. It's a little hard to see the light emitting here, but if I go to a darker space, it will stand out more. So I just had to move into the shadows a little bit. So there's a light emitting. So shrink this down as much as you can and hide it in an object. Like, let's say, I don't know if I have one under my hood. I don't remember, but let's say I want to hide it under there. So push it in as much as you can, then use constrained movement, local, to push it in the rest of the way. And you might need to rotate it and move it in order to hide the whole ephemera. Yeah, there's our little bit of increased light. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a little bit of an increased light there. So I put one. There's one or two in this low cabinet here. I think I have one each in the wall cabinets. I may or may not have put one in the stove and the fridge. I can't remember. But that's just to provide a little bit more lighting because our little oven vent and our little wall cabinets here, they did create shadows. And I did want to have the stuff that was under them to show up a little bit brighter. But yeah, those ordinarily, these Warframe ephemera are articulas, cost platinum, but they do show up as Twitch drops, usually from weekend content creators, fairly often. So I'm usually pretty comfortable saying, hey, this is a potential 0 platinum option. But yeah, that's our whole build for our kitchen cooking area. If you have any questions, other stuff you'd like to see, just let me know in the comments. I do have some other 0 platinum builds coming in the future. No timeline on those, unfortunately. I am in the process of building the base for my next one right now. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.